Hey guys, I got a 6 by 9 foot drop cloth from Home Depot. My plan was to bleach it and turn it into a curtain for my closet. I also got these clips to hang it. I didn't end up bleaching it because it wasn't 100% cotton. It didn't look that great when I opened it, but after I washed it, it got softer and the color seemed a bit lighter, like a stone color. I liked it, just not as a closet curtain. So I decided to use it to make other things. First, I wanted to use part of it as a picnic blanket. I could also use it as an actual drop cloth when I work on projects on my floor. I didn't need it too big, so I folded the drop cloth in half and cut it. You could just hem one side, but I wanted all the edges straight and the hem to match. So I cut all the sides of the drop cloth. I marked them 1/2 inch from the edge and folded them over twice. I marked a sheet of cardstock at 1/2 inch to use as a guide. Next, sew it. My picnic blanket ended up being a little over 5 by 4 feet. You could also use a drop cloth to make floor pillowcases. I made a pillowcase for this 26 by 26 inch Euro pillow that was originally on my couch. You could make the pillowcase smaller to make the pillow more fluffy. I made a 26 by 26 inch square and added 1/2 inch to all the sides. This is for the front of the pillow. Then I made a 26 by 20 inch piece. I added 1 inch to the 20 inch side for the hem, making it 21 inches, and added 1/2 inch to the other 3 sides. Then I made a 26 by 9 inch piece. I added 1 inch to the 9 inch side for the hem, making it 10 inches, and added 1/2 inch to the other 3 sides. These 2 pieces were for the back of the pillow. I folded the edge to the hemline and folded it over again. I did the same to the other back piece. For the design, on the back of the front piece, I marked 8.5 inches from the corners of all sides. Then I formed diagonal lines. I sewed a running stitch using black yarn and a tapestry needle. Make a knot, and start outside of the square. I marked a strip of paper at 1/4 inch to use as a guide. But it kept moving, so I ended up just marking my fingernail and using that as a guide. Next, with the backs facing up, match up all the sides and pin them together. There should be an overlapping part. Then sew the sides together. Trim the corners to prevent bunching. I also sewed a zigzag stitch along the edge to prevent fraying. I added Velcro to close the opening in the back. It was a little thick, so I cut it in half. Align and pin the two pieces of Velcro to the back pieces. Then sew. And add in your pillow. You could also line baskets with a drop cloth. I bought this Easter basket from Nordstrom years ago. It doesn't match anything in my room, so I decided to spray paint it black and line it. To line a basket, measure the top diameter, the bottom diameter, and the height. I made an 8.5 inch circle and added 1/2 inch around it for my bottom piece. Find the circumference for the top and bottom. Then, half them to find your measurements. The height stays the same. You'll need 2 pieces. Next, pin the 2 side pieces with the backs facing out from here to here. Press the sides down so they look like this. Sew this part down. Then fold the top over. Next, pin it evenly to the bottom piece. Then sew. I ended up sewing it all the way down. For my cord, I use black parachute cord. I use a safety pin to string the cord. I pulled and cut about 1 inch of the strings inside of it so they wouldn't show. Then I knotted the ends. I sewed one end of each side so the cords wouldn't come out, and I'd still be able to close the bag if I wanted to. Then I spray painted the basket. And here's how they all turned out.